I'd be very concerned if it was, but it's not nihilistic. It's, I think it's justifiable war. And I'm not a warmonger, believe me. I never want to go to war, and I don't want to see a war in my lifetime. But there are reasons when war is justified, when one's freedom is threatened, or it's like self-defense.
All right, hi, welcome back to another episode of Mel Gibson March Madness. This time, I'm here with Jerry once again, and we're talking about The Patriot.
Yeah.
So, first of all, great movie, if you guys have never seen it. But what was your take on it?
Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. I actually liked it a lot more probably this time watching it than I did last time.
Okay, and
yeah.
Extended edition, obviously.
Yeah, we watched the extended edition. It's only 10 minutes longer. I rented it on Amazon because I don't have the movie. It was cheaper too for some reason, so I was like, I'll just get the extended version.
You know, it's actually on HBO Max too.
Is it on HBO?
It's not the extended edition, no. Just the regular one.
I looked it up. I didn't see it on
Really?
there. Yeah.
They must have just taken it off. It was on there when I watched it.
Ah.
Yeah, because it goes through that cycle of like being on Amazon for free, and then it's like not there, and then it's on Netflix, and then it's all over the place.
Yeah, it's one of those streaming. Yeah, I know streaming is always tough like that. You never know.
How wasn't it like the $4 to rent it or whatever it was? Yeah. I do like that about Amazon. I mean, if usually you can find anything on Amazon, which is nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's dive in and start talking about it. What's the movie about?
Yeah, all right. It's what is it? It's about the Mel Gibson, Captain Martin. That's his character in the film.
Mm-hmm.
Him fighting the Revolutionary War, for revenge, basically.
Yeah,
because the British killed his son.
Yeah, which by the way, spoilers if you haven't seen it, but
yeah, it's a bit of a spoiler, but that also happens. Actually, yeah, it takes a while for that to happen.
It takes like about 30-40 minutes.
Yeah, it takes like an hour. Yeah, it takes like an hour before the film really gets going. I do have to say, I thought it was a little slow at the beginning, but yeah, once that point kind of hits, it definitely. It's just the rest of the time.
Yeah,
it moves a lot better after that. So yeah, so then he's just going on a quest, and he becomes part of the Continental Militia and signs up, and he has to, basically fight the war, which he does.
This is a Heath Ledger movie, too.
Yeah, in his own terms. Yeah, Heath Ledger is his other son. He has 7 kids in this film. Apparently, he had 7 kids in real life at the time. He has more now, I believe. But
yeah, he does have quite a few kids. Heath Ledger is the oldest of the kids.
Yeah.
Who signs up for the Continental Army basically against his father's will, Mel Gibson's will.
Yeah, because he was also a veteran of the French and Indian War, and so he was like, I'm done with that.
Yeah, and he told his kids, like, no, you're not, I don't want you signing up, and then he basically says, like, I'm going to do it anyways.
Yeah,
so
he says he's old enough.
Yeah, but his the next child down is his other son. I forget his name. Oh, Thomas. Thomas, yeah. That's his name. He was also played by the kid who was in Small Soldiers.
Oh yeah, that was where I saw him. I knew
but he the villain is
Jason Isaacs.
Jason Isaacs. Yeah, I was like Isaac something. Yeah.
You might recognize him. He plays evil British man. You might recognize him from his role as evil British man in Harry Potter.
He was Lucius Malfoy.
Yeah,
and then
evil British man in Star Wars.
Yeah.
Evil British man in Star Trek.
He was also in Event Horizon as well.
Oh, I forgot he was in Event Horizon.
Yeah. But he kills his other son, and he basically, like, he more or less, he just shoots him and says, like, shit happens.
Yeah. Yeah, he basically rolls up to their house and then immediately, for no reason, just orders it burned down to the ground and orders all of the Continental soldiers killed.
It's a pretty intense scene, because like there's a bunch of wounded like Continental soldiers and British soldiers. Yeah. And the British army rolls up and they take back all their wounded British soldiers. They're like, thank you for taking care of His Majesty's solors.
Yeah.
And then they start killing all the Continental guys.
Yeah, it was going all right until Jason Isaacs showed up and he's like, we need to murder everyone because I'm evil.
Because.
Yeah. He's one of the most like ridiculously evil villains in pretty much any film.
I know. Like
it's so over the top.
I know he's scarier than Mel Gibson, and that's that's saying a lot.
Yeah, it definitely is.
But as the movie goes on, Mel Gibson rejoins the Continental Army with Heath Ledger, and they invent the militia, the Minutemen.
Yeah, they form a regular militia.
Yeah, and that historically, that's one of the ways that the British were actually defeated was because America decided, you know what, gentleman warfare is stupid.
Yeah.
Let's just ambush them and hide and not play fair.
They couldn't stand up to the British Army.
Yeah,
on the
they
field.
didn't have the training or anything.
Almost every time they did, they lost. There were many battles in the war.
Yeah,
including one in the film, the one that Mel Gibson, Heath Ledger are watching. That's the Battle of Camden Court.
Yeah,
it was a real battle. It went just about as it did in the film.
Is that the scene with the cannonball with the dude's head? Oh
yeah,
God,
that's that bit. Yeah, it's very infamous. Yeah, and that was also something they did back then too. They would angle the round shot low, and they would fire it so it would bounce like that,
and it would just plow through people. Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of intense scenes in this movie as well. Like there's the scene with the tomahawk with Mel Gibson where he just hacks the dude like over and over again.
Yeah, like my God. That's probably the abiding memory for me because the film is like fairly normal up until that point.
Yeah.
And then after Mel Gibson's kid dies, he takes his other kids and he completely loses his shit.
It turns into a Mel Gibson movie.
He basically mows down a score of British soldiers by himself.
Single-handedly.
Yeah.
Well, no, his two younger boys are there with him, and they're like popping people here and there.
Yeah.
And they got like PTSD after that.
Yeah. Well, one of them was like, one of them was really shocked by it. The other one was like, man, I love killing people. It was really creepy.
He's like, I'm glad I killed him.
Yeah.
Mel Gibson's just like, what have I done?
Yeah, he's not happy about it, but then
attaboy.
Yeah.
But overall I give this movie an 8 out of 10 if I'm being completely fair with it. Just because some parts of the pacing of this movie are very slow.
Yeah.
Very, very slow.
It's a slow movie. It's a long film.
It is. What's the runtime of this movie?
The extended cut is 2 hours 55 minutes.
Yeah, it's almost as long as Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, it's a long film. Yeah, historical epics. They don't really make those kinds of movies anymore.
They really don't. And I know today, like, it would be kind of hard to make movies like that just because of the way the world is right now. However, this movie is really, really good. As far as Mel Gibson movies go, this is probably one of my favorites. Yeah. Is it weird to say that my favorite Mel Gibson movie is Chicken Run?
Chicken Run? Not really. I mean, it's a good film.
Yeah. I mean, Lethal Weapon's always good, too.
Yeah, Lethal Weapon's a great film.
But in our last one, we talked about Mad Max.
Yeah.
And I would say that, I mean, for one, in this one, he doesn't have his Australian accent anymore.
Yeah.
His fake Australian accent.
And Heath Ledger also has an American accent. He's Australian. He's Australian in real life. He has a pretty decent American accent.
He does have a very good American accent.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was one of the only other movies he did, I think, besides Knight's Tale, that was not like a rom-com. Because Heath Ledger did several rom-com movies. He did the 10 Things I Hate About You.
Yeah, that was I think that was the only Hollywood film he did before this.
I think so. That might have been.
He had done some films on TV in Australia before, and then he came over here. He did that, and then he did this,
and then eventually he went on to do The Dark Knight,
yeah,
which was amazing. And then he passed away. But
yeah,
Heath Ledger's great in this movie. I thought he did such a good job.
Yeah. He's one of the characters. I feel like he's one of the actors that really ties it together.
But there were this movie has so many notable characters in it. Just like the priest.
Oh yeah, Rene Auberjonois. He's great. He's one of I like him a lot. I'm a big Star Trek guy. He plays Odo in Star Trek.
He's really good. There's just so many good people in this movie. I forget the other guy's name, but he was one of the British soldiers that was with Jason Isaacs. And he kept telling him, like, no, like, this is wrong. We shouldn't be doing this.
Adam
Baldwin. Thank you.
Again, also from Firefly.
I always think he's the other guy from Aliens. What's the guy? Chet from Alien.
Bill Paxton.
Yeah. I always get them two confused.
There's some similarity there.
Yeah, but there's that scene in this movie that's really intense. It's Jason Isaacs shows up to this town where Heath Ledger's girlfriend's family is. Like they're living in this small town.
Yeah.
And they round everyone up in the church, and they basically say, "All right, you all have been found with treason, and if anyone comes forward, we'll spare everybody." And one person comes forward and he says, "Oh, good, thank you. We just wanted to be sure." So then they shut everyone in the church and burn the church down. It's like, wow, that's so messed
crazy.
up.
Yeah.
But that kind of stuff actually did happen.
The church thing didn't happen.
No, I mean not the church thing, but like the British Army would just kill people like that.
Yeah, they would occasionally. So would the Continentals.
I don't think maybe to that extent.
Yeah, the depiction of British atrocities in the film was a little over the top. It's something it's one of the controversies about the film. But yeah, nothing as dire as the church burning scene really ever happened.
Yeah.
As far as we can tell. I
And
mean,
after that, Heath Ledger just goes on an absolute rampage.
Yeah.
He takes after his dad in that sense.
Yeah, he's not quite as effective at it, of course.
What are some of the historical inaccuracies with this movie?
Yeah, the church burning one is a big one. Yeah, a couple. I mean, there's a lot. I tried to find the list. There's probably too many to really talk about.
Sure. Like a couple notable ones would be.
Yeah, like there's like the church burning scene. Other than that, one of the ones that always like really bothers me. It's kind of a minor point, but it's like the fact that General Cornwallis in the film. He's also one of kind of like the background characters.
Yeah.
He's portrayed as like kind of like an ineffectual old man, and he was only in his early 40s at the time in real life. He's actually 6 years younger than George Washington. And also, yeah, there's just like and there's various just kind of a lot of other like random bits. You know, the colonials, they usually didn't wear uniforms. That's more forgivable because it's easier to see because it's a film, obviously, so it's easier to see who's who in the battle scenes because they're quite chaotic. So that's a little bit more forgivable. There's ones that are like that, and there's ones that are kind of just like, why did you bother? Another one, it's not really like a historical inaccuracy, but one of those things is like Mel Gibson's kids, like, because the film takes place over the course of like about 7 years, like from 1776 to the beginning of the war, more or less, till the end in 1880 or 1783. Yeah. But Mel Gibson's kids, they don't age at any point during this film.
That is true.
Which is really jarring, especially for Thomas, because by the beginning of the film, by the time he gets killed, he should have been old enough to join because he was already 15 in both scenes. But they take place 2 years apart.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I never actually thought about that.
Yeah, it's one of those points that just like it's a Roland Emmerich film. These kinds of logical things are always in there.
Well, the only one of his kids that like noticeably aged was the oldest of the daughters. She did look like they did stuff to make her look a little older as well. Or it was probably vice versa, where they made her look younger in the process of becoming older. But yeah, I do agree with you there that is kind of a plot hole or an inaccuracy.
Yeah, it's just a little weird. Yeah, because a lot of the film's plot is kind of predicated on it. I think overall the film is kind of light on story, especially for its runtime. But I think that it's a good and a bad thing because then the Revolutionary War stuff is what is holding the film together, especially for most of the film.
Yeah, but don't you agree though that like the whole Revolutionary War thing is just kind of like this is when the movie takes place, but I feel like it's kind of like a oh yeah, by the way, you're watching a Revolutionary War film.
Yeah, it's clearly supposed to be more of the backdrop, but it's the part that kind of started to interest me more after a while. Because the plot itself, like I said, because there's long periods of the film where it's like Mel Gibson just fucking up British dudes,
right?
And then like Jason Isaacs kind of floats back in after like 2 hours.
The end fight scene with him and Jason Isaacs is awesome though. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah,
that whole end scene.
Yeah,
is
him
just
running
so
with
good.
The flag like
it's so iconic. So iconic.
It's hilarious.
So good. I think that in terms of being Mel Gibson March Madness, if we're rating these movies, because we're doing 4 movies in this, if we're rating this, we'll probably do the rating system on the 4th movie, and then we'll decide like which of the 4 is probably like collectively our favorite. But this is up there for me, for definitely just in terms of Mel Gibson's acting. Mel Gibson's acting is really good in this movie.
It is actually very good.
My favorite scene in the whole movie is when they walk into the club and they don't know if it's British or continental.
Oh, yeah.
And they both go, "God save King George!" And like everyone gets up.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh yeah, we're in the right place."
Yeah, everyone starts pulling out their guns.
So good.
Yeah.
There's so many scenes in this movie that are just so like funny, and they like for some reason they're not supposed to be, but they are. It's just I don't know.
Yeah.
There's so many good scenes in this movie, but overall, I give the movie an 8 out of 10. Yeah, that's what I give it. What about you?
Yeah, I'd probably say like 7 or 8 out of 10. It's definitely my favorite Roland Emmerich film for sure. At this point, I can't think of a better one. Like,
what are some of his other films?
Independence Day, Stargate,
Day
After Tomorrow, 2012.
Okay.
A lot of really stupid films, to be honest. I do kind of like Stargate as well.
Yeah, now that you mentioned that, because I was thinking about his other movies, and I was like, Independence Day is probably the only other one on that list where I'm like, okay, fair, that's a good movie.
Yeah, This film probably shares some thematic similarities with
this
that.
movie won. I think this movie won a couple of Oscars, if I'm not mistaken.
It was up for them. I don't know if
it got nominated. Rather.
Yeah, it got nominated for some of the technical stuff. Didn't get nominated for best score, which is kind of bullshit because it's John Williams.
This has a very good score. Yeah, this movie does have very good music.
Yeah, it's one of the things.
The costume design in this movie was really well done too. I thought it was really good that they had, like you were saying, most of the Continental soldiers just wearing whatever.
Yeah, a lot of the militiamen, especially. Yeah, the regulars were not dressed in uniform, which makes sense because they weren't.
Well, I mean, even historically with the regular soldiers, most of them didn't have uniforms. It was really like the officers or like the higher ups because they couldn't afford them at the time.
Until the French came in and then they kind of started giving people uniforms.
Yeah. Oh my God, the French guy in the movie.
Oh, he's great.
So awesome. I forget the actor's name, but
Checky Caro.
Oh,
I think
he's such a good character.
Yeah, he's great.
He's such a good.
He also usually plays evil European man, so we kind of switched it up here because he's the good one.
he's not so cowardly Frenchman in this one.
Yeah, he's very French.
But he's very French. But do you have any other notes you wanted to talk about with this? Because I think we kind of covered mostly everything.
Yeah. I mean, just a couple other little points. The film, even though, it definitely glorifies the American cause and demonizes the British a lot, it still does a pretty good job at painting the war and war in general as a very violent,
really does.
horrible thing. So that's something that I did like about the film, because it still has that overtone. Because, we see the battles, it's dirty, and we see characters from both sides, they do commit atrocities, because, Mel Gibson his character still does...
bad things.
Yeah, bad things. Not as bad as Jason Isaacs' guy, but he's still he still executes
unarmed people.
Yeah, trying to surrender, which is a war crime.
Yeah, and that there's a whole thing about that where half of his men kind of not really turn against each other, but are kind of hey, this is wrong kind of thing.
Yeah,
where they're just the British soldiers are we surrender, and they're just shooting people and killing people.
Yeah, and he just starts talking.
They're well, they're redcoats, so they deserve it, and it's just well, that's murder at that point.
Yeah, but that's kind of where we see his character being different, is because he's you know what, that was a mistake. That was something I'm not proud of, and we're gonna try to rein that in the future, which they kind of do.
Yeah. They're for those of you that have not seen this movie though, Mel Gibson was in the French and Indian War, right? The French and Indian War, and he was talking about what he did at Fort Wilderness.
Yeah, which was also...
So that we're going to leave for you to listen to, because that is just unbelievable. But you can get this movie on Amazon. I'm not sure at this point in time what streaming service it's on, but it is for sure on Amazon to rent.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's on Prime for free, other times it's not. It kind of jumps around. It has been on Netflix a few times as well.
I think last time I watched it was on
Netflix. It's funny because usually it's around July. is when this movie.
Yeah, that's another small note about the soundtrack, is that I think Obama used to use it during his campaign.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious.
Someone, I think it was him.
But in terms of Mel Gibson March Madness, this is the second film that we've talked about.
Yeah.
What did we say our next one was?
Lethal Weapon.
Lethal Weapon.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So Lethal Weapon will be the next one.
Right.
And then we're up in the air with what the fourth one's going to be. It's a toss-up between Braveheart or Chicken Run.
Yeah.
So it's going to be one or the other. Either way, Chicken Run has been talked about in both of these episodes
Yeah,
so
I think
far.
we might have to do Chicken Run.
I think we might just have to do it, because it does count as a Mel Gibson movie.
Yeah, he's in it.
But hope you guys liked what you saw. As always, like and subscribe, and we will see you next time for episode 3 of Mel Gibson March Madness. Everyone take care.
See ya.